Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm fighting in Essex in Buckhurst Hill. Really enjoyable evening, really wonderful atmosphere, and last minute, so I had a couple of weeks notice, and then it was only 5 days before that I knew for certain that I'd be fighting, and quite a low-key event, unlicensed, and just a really wonderful evening, of which I felt so fortunate to be part of. Didn't really know anything about my opponent other than their weight, but turns out he was very good, quite lean, very tall, so I had a bit of a height advantage on me and quite a significant reach advantage as well. So a couple of people said, "Oh, just basically try and go inside from the beginning," but that's obviously easier said than done because I'm an outfighter as well, and so I like to sit back as far as possible and come in. So I did try and adapt my adapt my strategy a little bit, but every time I went in, as you'll be able to see, he ended up just basically just got into a clinch and it was just wasting time. So yeah, he had an effective jab, and as you'll be able to see, he was pretty good for the first 2 rounds. I was trying to gauge his strength, but then after the second round, I kind of just got into it and started hitting. We started trading some shots to the head. A little bit annoying that it took me 2 rounds to get into it. I felt off the pace, and I've not really done any head sparring for a few months. I would say since May. So yeah, two months or so. Done a bit of bag work. Done some training. Done some MMA as well. So yeah, so it's still fresh. And part of the reason I wanted to upload this is because my channel at the moment is, as you'll see, has mainly been running, whether that's trail running or running marathons, and that's purely because they're just a lot easier to film. It's just kind of a lot more accepted if you've got a camera. People kind of it's not as unusual as if you're in the gym or training in the boxing gym or boxing club or MMA. It's a little bit more tricky to film. So that's the only reason, but I'm aware that there's kind of quite an imbalance on the channel, and I don't really want it to become like a running channel. But really, I want it just to share my life, and I want it to be things that are strenuous, so activities that take a lot of energy and focus, and ideally help to build discipline and clarity of thought. And so I thought I'd share my mindset going into this. I know that I'm going to have quite a long break and a bit of travels over the summer. And so I was really feeling just so fortunate to be able to do this. I loved every single second of it in the ring. Really, I've spoken about boxing before being such an immersive sport. It's wholly consuming, it's intuitive, so you don't really have time to think about what's happening, you just respond. And it's been called the Chamber of Truth, and I completely understand why, because you can so easily get found out in there. And but that's where matchmaking is so important, and you really got to trust your coach that it's going to be a fair match, and that you're not going to be endangered in any way, or you're not going to endanger your opponent. And of course, there's prayer, and as well as praying the rosary and asking Our Lady as well for intercession and guidance. And that's the thing I do before taking any fight, is not just agreeing to anything, but trying to discern the will of God, and that often comes down to the Ignatian discernment, which I'm learning so much about at the moment. But I'd say key theme for me for this was being aware of the love of God, and the fact that God is a good Father who loves us as His children, and any sort of anxiety or fear or absence of peace comes down to the fact that we don't feel the love of God, and fear begins to creep in. But it says in the book of John that perfect love casts out fear, and so any sort of misgivings, apprehension, uncertainty, doubt, it all comes down to a lack of belief in the love of God. It says in the book of 1 John, God is love. It says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love." And that's bigger than anything, and it's the positive vitality and the positive force of love that supersedes and triumphs over any sort of fear. So I encourage you, if you ever feeling any fear or doubt in your life, try to focus on the love of God, because it also says by this love is perfected in us, so that we have confidence for the day of judgment. And it says there is no fear in love, has not been perfected in love. And also says we love because he first loved us. And so I was just feeling the love of God, just so grateful to be alive, so grateful to be able to step into the ring and being healthy enough and sharp enough to be able to compete, and just to see the joy and the people's reactions as well. And I had the chance of watching a couple of my clubmates fight as well, and it's just great being in the crowd, just cheering, supporting your mates, and seeing them compete as well. Right at the end of his ministry on earth, Jesus is going to the cross. He says to his disciples, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives do I give to you." He says, "Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." And this was a big feature of John Paul II's ministry, a time of suspicion and fear, the communism and the suspicion that breeds, where people are spying on each other and on their neighbours, and people are scared to speak what they really think or believe. His whole ministry was encapsulating that fear, do not fear. And so perfect love casts out fear. Repeatedly Jesus says to his disciples, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me." He said, "I have said these things to you, that it may bring you peace. In the world you will have struggle, but take heart, I have overcome the world." One thing I was meditating on during Holy Week this week, during a Lenten retreat, the theme of the day was the verse where it says, "Jesus loved them to the end." And it's that love which overcomes not just fear, but death and trial, tribulation, and difficulty. It's the love of God. And love produces obedience and peace, nothing else. It's not the fear necessarily, although fear of God is essential. Fear hell, fear evil, fear sin, the saints repeatedly tell us. But it's got to be a positive force that produces obedience and peace, and that's the love of God. We're motivated by love for God, wanting to love God with our whole being, to give ourselves wholly to God. Jesus says, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love." And it's the love of God to Jesus that allowed Jesus to feel a peace going to the cross. So I encourage you, be aware of the love of God today. God bless you.